Hello, welcome, or if you're new here, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley, aka AmaArt75 across social media. In this video, I'll be working on practicing some things I've never really paid attention to or tried to practice, but there are elements that I really want to bring into my new paintings. But first, I really need to clean up my desk. I don't have like a big working space, so I work from this desk in my bedroom, and sometimes it gets a little messy. Oops, thought something was gonna fall. I'll be using acrylic paints more in my practices because that is what I use for my larger paintings, and I'm trying to regain my confidence in it as well as refine some skills. I've been in a funk lately, and it's because I really suck at time management. So when I get home from work, I get distracted by my phone, and then it's late and I haven't done any art, and the cycle continues. So this week I started a time breakdown and blocked up my evenings for things that I have to do, including downtime, which is very important. And to tell you the truth, I really want to be transparent with you guys. I did this over the course of 4 days. Before we get too far, I want to thank my patrons for their support and for being a part of my community. If you'd like my art and you want more in-depth view on it or my process, please consider joining my Patreon community at patreon.com/AMAart. Now back to the video. So 2 things I wanted to work on for my paintings were hair texture and like foliage and flowers. This first one is trying to convey that some black hair texture. Honestly, I don't know what type this is. I've had locks for like 2/3 of my life, and so I've never paid attention to different hair types, but it looked like a twist out or something, and it's not a style I would normally choose to go for. I tend to like go for more like afros, but I thought it would be good practice because it's not my typical. Honestly, I really liked the way this one turned out, and I was second guessing myself the whole time. The next things are the poppy seed pods. I thought these looked so alien and I figured this was way out of my comfort zone, so we're definitely going to learn something here. And to tell you the truth, I'm pleasantly surprised by how this turned out. It really makes me want to try some other nature things I've been afraid of and hopefully build up some practice doing it. Sunday, which was the next day, I had a terrible headache all day and I didn't get to do any more work on this spread. But I was determined to put my new time blocking to use this Monday. So after getting home from work on Monday, I started with what I think is kind of like a low stress exercise. I think my reference was a eucalyptus. I have a lot of these types of imagery saved on my Pinterest board that I really want to incorporate into my future paintings. So I really wanted to try and figure out basically how to paint this. So I just decided to work from the darker sections or darker leaves to the lighter leaves. And this really seemed like the way to do it because, again, I liked how it turned out. If it seems like I am kind of bouncing around in this spread, it's because I planned out this spread. Like I kind of knew what I was going to paint, and I laid it out in my PureF board, because honestly I am just now realizing that that's probably what most YouTube creators do, especially, I mean, the art ones. Like they probably plan out what they're going to sketch, and before I kind of was just winging it, and this kind of seemed like a much smarter way to go about it, because if I had to search for references or ideas to paint while I was in the middle of this spread, I honestly would have never finished it. So planning it out was definitely a great trick. I had set my acrylic paints up in these solvent containers pre-mixed with like matte medium. It's a personal choice, so that I could remove some of the hassle of setup, because sometimes that deters me. And I really needed to make the painting process, or at least the access to my paint mediums, more accessible, so that I wouldn't necessarily have an excuse to not paint. Basically, this whole exercise is a way for me to stop making excuses. Is anybody else drawn to those gouache tutorials when they're like painting fruit? I always find them so fascinating, and I can never really get my gouache to operate that way. So I decided to make a fruit painting attempt, but with my acrylic paints. I think this is either a persimmon or a pomegranate. I think it's a pomegranate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Painting these leaves were really hard because I couldn't quite get an opaque layer of paint, because again my acrylic paints are mixed with a matte medium, which thins them out a bit, and I was having trouble getting my yellow ochre to lay opaquely on top of this green. I'll try to fix that later. This also was an exercise in trying to get something to look really red while also using a lot of different colors and different tones to basically make the pomegranate more visually interesting. At this point, I was so frustrated with the way the leaves were turning out on that one branch that I just opted to use my Posca marker that was sitting on my desk. And it was really cool. I think this is gonna be a thing I start using. It's like, this is how you learn things when you're frustrated and you no longer want to push through. And here's the first half of the spread. I'm moving on to portraits now, and still with the hair texture, but I've never painted red hair, or honestly any hair lighter than a dark brown or black. So this was a definite challenge, and there comes a time when I realized that red hair isn't actually like, a red color or even that orange, because she's looking a lot like Ronald McDonald right now. And I mean, eventually I fix it. Eventually. But I did get really hung up on getting the face right with this. And that's not really what this practice was about, because I know I can paint faces. But I was really trying to figure out hair texture as well as getting the colors and tones right, and creating depth. I took a break and didn't come back until Wednesday. And that's when I realized, her hair is way too red. So I'm trying to push it back, or at least neutralize the intensity of the orange. And after a lot of push and pull, I started to really see where, like, you know, the texture was starting to develop and it was turning out really cool. And I would love to incorporate, you know, some red hair in some of my paintings. And can you believe I did the tape peel before I even actually finished it? I didn't even realize that I forgot to finish her eyebrows and give her eyelashes. That's how eager I was to actually just be done with this. So this next practice exercise sketch, I don't really like drawing on camera because sometimes I like to move my sketchbook around when I'm trying to make sure that proportions are right. So I didn't record the sketching out process of this, but for this one I didn't want to focus on painting her face or her skin because that would get me too caught up in this process, and honestly I really just wanted to be done with this spread. So I just wanted to paint her hair because, again, I'm trying to add more depth and detail to my hair painting practice. So that's really what this was about. But I honestly couldn't leave her face just with my red Prismacolor, so I just reached for my ballpoint pen and kind of just sketched out some detail to make her face, you know, look finished enough that I could feel okay with ending this spread here. And overall, I'm very happy with how this turned out. I learned a lot of things working on these studies. Also, I feel like I have a lot more confidence in like my acrylic painting skills, not just painting portraits, just painting other objects as well, because that was really intimidating for me for a long time. And if you like this spread or if you want to see more things like this, please feel free to leave me a comment below. I do read and respond to all the comments. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.